General Steve Walsh stood in the war room beneath Earth's capital city. The room buzzed with activity as hundreds of officers worked at their stations. Holographic displays showed every known alien system, every strategic point, every weakness. Humanity had discovered over 3 decades of careful observation. Status report, Steve called out. Dr. Amy Brooks, the chief science officer, approached with a tablet in hand. All deep space sensors are online. We have complete data on 800 alien homeworlds. Their defenses, their military positions, their civilian centers. Everything we've been quietly mapping for the past 30 years. Steve nodded. Good. Commander Johnson, what about our special operations teams? A young man with sharp eyes stepped forward. All teams are in position. Sir, every major alien installation has at least 2 human agents already inside. They've been building covers for decades, waiting for this moment. The general walked to the main display. It showed a countdown timer, 48 hours, 17 minutes, 33 seconds. Indy. Less than 2 days we launched the largest coordinated military operation in human history, Steve said. This isn't just about territory anymore, this is about respect, about showing the galaxy who we really are. Analyst Kate Davis raised her hand from her station. Sir, we're receiving reports from our agents in alien space. They're not taking our silence seriously. Most species think we're having a tantrum. Steve almost smiled. Perfect. Let them think that. What about our diplomatic recalls? Complete, sir, Amy reported. Every human ambassador, trade representative, and cultural exchange student is off alien soil. They think we're isolating ourselves, in anger. And the communication blackout? Total, sir. We've stopped responding to all alien hails. They're getting frustrated, but they still think we'll come crawling back once we realize how much we need them. The general walked among his staff, observing their work. 30 years of preparation was finally being put to use. Every war game, every simulation, every piece of intelligence had led to this moment. Dr. Brooks, show me the weapon systems. Amy touched her tablet, and the main display changed. It now showed dozens of new technologies humanity had developed in secret. We've made significant advances in every area, sir. Our ships are faster and better armed than anything the aliens have seen. Our personal weapons use energy types they don't even know exist, and our cyber warfare capabilities are centuries ahead of theirs. Because they never shared their knowledge, Steve said. They wanted to keep us dependent. They never imagined we could develop our own path. Kate looked up from her station again. Sir, there's something you should know. The Veldry Empire is already moving ships toward the territories they voted to take from us. Steve's face hardened. How many ships? 300, sir. They're not even pretending to wait for us to comply peacefully. The room fell silent. Every person there understood what this meant. The aliens weren't just disrespectful, they were already treating human claims as if they never existed. Commander Johnson, Steve said quietly, change our timeline. Operation Shattered Glass begins in 24 hours instead of 48. Pete Johnson nodded. Yes, sir. All teams will be notified. As the orders went out, Steve stood looking at the display. Ships that had been humanity's secret for decades were now powering up. Weapons that had never been tested in real combat were being armed. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment were receiving their final briefings. In alien space, the representatives of 800 species continued their normal business. They complained about human silence, but dismissed it as beneath their concern. They were planning how to divide human territories among themselves. They were debating which human technologies to take once Earth was properly subdued. None of them noticed the subtle power fluctuations in their own systems. None of them realized their most secure communications were being monitored. None of them understood that their military positions had been mapped down to the last defensive gun. On a space station near human territory, Captain Jake Morrison was still in his cell. The alien guards had stopped finding his situation amusing. He was too calm, too quiet. When they offered him food, he thanked them politely. When they told him Earth would surrender soon, he just nodded. Why aren't you worried? One guard finally asked him. Jake looked up from the book he was reading. Why would I be worried? Your species defied the council. You will be punished. Earth will lose everything. Jake smiled gently. I think you have that backwards. The guard laughed. Humans and your pride. You are one species against 800. The council has decided your fate. No, Jake said softly. Earth has decided. The council's fate. You just don't know it yet. The guard walked away, shaking its head at human delusion. It never occurred to the creature that Jake might be telling the truth. Back on Earth, the countdown continued. Every human in the military knew what was coming. Every scientist working on classified projects had received their activation orders. Every deep space agent was ready to act. The aliens thought they were punishing a young, weak species. They thought humanity would beg for forgiveness and accept whatever scraps the council offered. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In 24 hours, the galaxy would see humanity not as a junior species seeking approval, but as a force that had been holding itself back for 30 years out of respect. That respect had just ended. Steve Walsh looked at his officers one last time before they dispersed to their positions. Remember, he said, we're not doing this for conquest, we're not doing this for revenge, we're doing this because sometimes the only way to earn respect is to show strength. The officers saluted and left to prepare for what would become known as the longest day in galactic history. Humanity was about to lose its composure and the universe would never be the same again. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, his hands shaking with anger. The massive room stretched out before him, filled with representatives from 800 different species. Their strange bodies and faces, all turned toward him, but their expressions showed the same thing: contempt. For 30 years, Jake said, his voice steady despite his frustration, Earth has asked for basic respect. We have followed every rule. We have shared our technology. We have fought in your wars, and yet you still treat us like children. The council leader, a tall creature with silver skin called Zixathora, waved one of its 6 arms dismissively. Human Morrison, your species is young. You must learn patience. Jake felt his jaw clench. Young? We have sent aid to 12 different worlds. Our scientists have solved problems your species struggled with for centuries. Our soldiers have died defending your territories. How much more do we need to prove? A ripple of what might have been. Laughter spread through the chamber. Species that looked like floating crystals buzzed with amusement. Creatures with tentacles instead of limbs writhed in what seemed like mockery. The matter is decided, Zixathora declared. The Veldry Empire will establish colonies in the territories you claim. You may keep 3 systems for your kind. This is generous. Jake's face turned red. Those are our planets. We discovered them. We mapped them. We built outposts there. You cannot just take them. The council leader's large, dark eyes narrowed. Watch your tone, young species. The council has voted. 847 votes in favor. Only 1 vote against. Your protest is noted and dismissed. Jake looked around the chamber. The human ambassador section held only him. No one else stood with Earth, not even their supposed allies. This is theft, Jake said, raising his voice. This is a violation of every treaty we have signed. Security drones began to move toward him. Their metal bodies hummed with energy weapons. Remove the human, Zixathora ordered. He has forgotten his place. Jake stood firm as the drones approached. I have not forgotten anything, but I think you have forgotten something important. What could you possibly teach us? The council leader asked, its voice dripping with arrogance. Jake smiled, but there was no humor in it. You have no idea what you've just done. The drones grabbed his arms. Their grips were gentle but unbreakable. As they lifted him off the ground, Jake continued speaking. For 30 years we have been patient. For 30 years we have been respectful. For 30 years we have held back. The chamber fell silent. Even the council leader tilted its head in curiosity. Today you took everything from us. Our patience, our respect, our restraint. Jake's voice grew louder as the drones carried him toward the exit. You think we are weak because we have been kind. You think we are powerless because we have been peaceful. Zixathora made a sound that might have been a sigh. Typical human dramatics. Take him away. But Jake was not finished. As he reached the chamber doors, he turned his head back one last time. No species in this room has ever seen humans when they stop being nice. Today you will learn what happens when we lose our composure. The doors closed behind him with a heavy thud. The council leader shook its massive head. Foolish young species. They will learn their place soon enough. Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Grant watched the live feed of Jake being removed from the chamber. Her office was dark except for the glow of multiple screens. Each screen showed different alien systems, different potential targets. Her aide, Commander Ben Carter, stood beside her. "Ma'am, should we prepare the usual diplomatic protest?" Lisa turned off the screens one by one. When the last screen went dark, she faced Ben. "No. Prepare Operation Shattered Glass, full authorization, no restraints." Ben's eyes widened. "Ma'am, are you sure? Once we begin, there's no going back." Lisa picked up a small device from her desk. It was the emergency beacon, the one button she had hoped never to press. "They've made their choice, Ben. For 30 years we've shown them our best nature. Now they'll see the part of humanity we've kept hidden." She pressed the button. Across Earth, every military base received the same message. Every ship in space got the same order. Every scientist working on classified projects saw the same authorization. The time for talking was over. The galaxy was about to learn why humans had been so careful to stay peaceful for so long. They were about to discover the true meaning of human anger. Jake Morrison sat in a holding cell on the station. He was smiling. Not because he was happy, but because he knew what was coming. The other species thought humans were predictable. They thought they knew humanity. They were wrong. In 3 days, the first human ships would arrive at their targets. In 1 week, the galaxy would understand. The young species was about to show the old ones a lesson they would never forget. Outside his cell, alien guards talked among themselves. They laughed about the angry human and his empty threats. They had no idea that across space, the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen was preparing to move. Humanity had waited long enough. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 800 species argued, panicked, and demanded explanations. Council leader Zixathora tried to maintain order, but its voice was drowned out by the fear. "Silence!" Zixathora finally roared, its 6 arms waving frantically. "Report the situation systematically." One by one, species announced their losses. The Veldry had lost military control of 3 systems. The Crystari reported their defense. Grid was completely offline. The Tenthari couldn't even access their own communications networks. Admiral Sam Rodriguez watched all of this through a secure channel from Earth. His image appeared on every screen in the council chamber, but only when he chose to reveal himself. "Council leader Zixathora," Sam said calmly, "we need to talk." The chamber fell silent. Every eye, sensor, and optical device focused on the human admiral. "Where are you?" Zixathora demanded. "How are you?" "I'm everywhere you are," Sam interrupted. "I'm in your private communications. I'm in your military systems. I'm watching your secret conferences. I know everything you thought you were hiding from the galaxy." To prove his point, Sam began broadcasting. Every screen suddenly showed classified information from different species. Trade agreements made in secret. Military alliances hidden from smaller species. Economic exploitations of weaker civilizations. "Stop this," Zixathora shouted. "You're violating every law of—" "What laws?" Sam asked coldly. "The laws you wrote to keep younger species under control? The laws you ignored when you stole our territories?" Dr. Marie Webb, watching from her position on Earth, smiled as her psychological warfare plan unfolded perfectly. 30 years of studying alien psychology was paying off beautifully. In the council chamber, chaos erupted as species turned on each other. The Crystari accused the Veldry of secret military buildup. The Tenthari discovered their economic partners had been cheating them for centuries. Hidden alliances were exposed. This is what happens, Sam continued, when you underestimate humans. You thought we were too young to understand politics. You assumed we were too simple to master technology. You believed we were too weak to defend ourselves. Major Tony Kim led his liberation force into another alien detention center. These centers, humanity had learned, held thousands of beings who had opposed the major species. Political prisoners, dissenters, entire populations deemed inconvenient. Release them all, Tony ordered his team. Every cell, every holding area, full medical aid for anyone who needs it. As the cells opened, Tony found himself looking at creatures he had never seen before. Species so small or unusual that they had never been represented in the council. "Who are you?" one tiny being asked in a voice like chiming bells. "We're human," Tony said. "And we're here because we know what it's like to be ignored by those in power." Word of human liberation forces spread quickly through secret channels. Species that had been suppressed for generations dared to hope again. The humans weren't just fighting for themselves. They were freeing everyone the major species had pushed aside. Ambassador Alan Cross stood in what used to be the private conference room of the Veldry Empire's leadership. The room was elegant, built for beings much larger than humans, but Alan felt perfectly at home there now. "Please," the former Veldry defense minister pleaded. "This is humiliating. You're broadcasting our private communications to the entire galaxy." "Yes," Alan said simply. "Just like you broadcast Earth's private, diplomatic conversations when you wanted to embarrass us. You seem upset about the experience." Another screen activated, showing the Veldry Council leader speaking to its advisors about how to permanently subjugate the human threat. The recording was from 3 days ago, before humanity showed its true strength. That was taken out of context, the minister tried to explain. "Was it?" Alan asked. He gestured to another screen, which showed dozens of similar discussions. Plans to enslave human populations, divide human territories, even eliminate human culture entirely. "We never acted on those plans." "Because you couldn't," Alan said coldly. "Not because you didn't want to. You thought you were protecting the galaxy from a dangerous young species. Instead, you were protecting yourselves from a species you couldn't control." In space, the human fleet maintained its positions. Every major alien military installation was under observation. Human ships remained invisible until they chose to appear, making it impossible for alien forces to plan any counterattack. Captain Jane Boyd received a message on her private channel. "Retribution, this is Commander Davis. The psychological phase is working beyond expectations. Multiple species are requesting negotiation with Earth directly, bypassing the Council entirely." Jane nodded. "Understood. Maintain current positions. Let them realize we can be in 100 places at once if we choose." The truth was even more impressive. Human technology included quantum entanglement communications and ships that could be in multiple locations simultaneously. The aliens had known humans were good at multitasking. They hadn't known humans had built technology to support it. Back on Earth, Director Tyler Knox reviewed the data flowing in from across the galaxy. Human agents embedded deep in alien societies for decades were now revealing themselves. Some had risen to high positions in alien governments. Others had spent years learning alien technologies from the inside. "Sir," his aide reported, "we're getting surrender offers from 17 different species. They want to know Earth's terms." "Tell them to wait," Tyler said. "We're not done yet." On the main screen, a new message was being prepared. Written by human linguists who had spent 30 years studying how to communicate perfectly with every known species. It would appear in all languages simultaneously. The message was simple. "This is what respect looks like. This is the conversation we should have had 30 years ago. We're listening now. Are you?" In the council chamber, Zixathora finally admitted what everyone could see. "Council members," it announced, "I propose an immediate ceasefire and recognition of human sovereignty over all disputed territories." The vote was swift and unanimous. 800 species voted yes, but Admiral Rodriguez wasn't finished. "That's a good start," he said, his image appearing larger on every screen. "Now let's talk about reparations. and reforms, and making sure this never happens to any species again. The aliens who had once looked down on humanity now looked up to them with a mixture of fear and respect. They finally understood that humanity hadn't been simple or weak, they had been patient. That patience was gone now, and the galaxy would spend years learning to live with the consequences of taking humanity for granted. Jake Morrison, now free from his cell, stood on the observation deck of the station as a human ship approached to take him home. "You know," he said to the alien guards who had become strangely respectful, "my species has a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick." "We understand now," one guard replied. "We are sorry." "Don't be sorry," Jake said gently. "Just remember, we tried speaking softly for 30 years. Today you met our big stick." As the human ship docked and Jake prepared to go home, he smiled. The easy part was over. Now humanity had to figure out how to turn their moment of lost composure into a lasting peace. He suspected they were just as good at making peace as they were at making war. The galaxy was about to find out. The Galactic Council chamber looked different now. The elaborate seating arrangement that had placed smaller species in the back and larger, more powerful species in the front had been replaced. Every species now had an equal position in a perfect circle. Captain Elena Hayes walked into the chamber with measured steps. Unlike Jake Morrison's emotional appearance months ago, Elena radiated calm control. Behind her walked Ambassador Paul Wright and Director Tyler Knox, each carrying portable devices that everyone knew contained humanity's collected evidence against the previous council leadership. The new council leader, a smaller species called the Pathy, nodded respectfully. "Captain Hayes, Ambassador Wright, Director Knox, thank you for attending this session." "Thank you for the invitation," Elena responded, "though we're told it was a unanimous decision to invite us. That's quite different from the last human's experience here." Uncomfortable shifting rippled through the chamber. Everyone remembered Jake Morrison being physically removed. Everyone remembered the dismissive vote that had followed. "Before we begin," Elena continued, her voice carrying to every part of the chamber, "we'd like to share something with the council." Tyler stepped forward and activated his device. The air above the center of the chamber filled with holographic images. But these weren't weapon demonstrations or military threats. They were videos of human actions over the past month. The first image showed human medical ships arriving at war-torn planets that the major species had ignored. Human doctors worked alongside alien physicians, sharing knowledge and resources freely. "During our military operations," Elena explained, "Earth forces provided emergency medical aid to any alien soldiers who needed it, including those who had been shooting at us moments before." The next image showed human engineers rebuilding infrastructure on worlds that had been damaged in the brief conflict. They worked side by side with local populations, teaching as they built. "Human principles don't change based on circumstances," Elena said. "We believe in helping others, even when those others have wronged us." Dr. Beth Andrews stepped forward from the human delegation. As a xenocultural expert, she had spent her career studying alien societies with genuine respect. "We learned things about all of your species that you thought you were hiding," Beth said gently. "We learned about your fears, your secret alliances, your economic struggles. But we also learned about your art, your philosophies, your dreams." She activated another display, showing brilliant alien artwork, moving alien music performances, beautiful alien poetry. "This is what we've been too busy arguing to appreciate. Your cultures are amazing. We never wanted to fight. We wanted to share and learn together." Former council leader Zix Thora, now seated among the general members, rather than in a position of authority, spoke up. "Captain Hayes, your species demonstrated capabilities far beyond what any of us imagined. Why did you hide such power?" Elena turned to face the old leader directly. "We didn't hide our power, Zixathora. We hid our weapons. There's a difference." She gestured to Paul Wright, who activated his own device. The chamber filled with images of human achievements in space exploration, medicine, art, and science from the past 30 years. "This is our power," Elena continued. "Creativity, innovation, cooperation, the ability to solve problems and help others. The weapons you saw were something we built precisely because we were afraid we might need them someday. We hoped we never would. But you used them, another council member pointed out. Yes, Elena agreed, because sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to be prepared for war. Sometimes the only way to maintain kindness is to be capable of strength. Tyler stepped forward again. We're prepared to share everything now. Not just our peaceful technologies, but our military capabilities too, with conditions. The chamber fell silent. This was what everyone had been waiting for. First, Tyler continued, every species gets equal representation in the council. No more senior and junior members. No more dismissing smaller species concerns. Agreed, the new council leader said immediately. Voices of agreement echoed throughout the chamber. Second, we establish a joint peacekeeping force. All species contribute according to their abilities. All species benefit from protection equally. Reasonable, came multiple responses. Third, we create a shared database of all knowledge. Medicine, technology, culture, art, everything open to everyone. This caused more discussion, but eventually agreement emerged. Fourth, Elena took over. We establish a memorial, not just for this conflict, but for all the beings we've lost to misunderstanding, prejudice, and fear over the centuries, and we commit to education. Every child, of every species, will learn the true history of galactic cooperation and the cost of disrespect. As the terms were debated and refined, something remarkable happened. Species that had barely acknowledged each other before began talking. The Veldry, humbled by their experience, apologized to smaller species they had dominated. The Crystari offered shared technology to help rebuild damaged worlds. Months later, on a space station that had been converted from a military outpost to a cultural center, the Memorial of Understanding was dedicated. The ceremony was attended by representatives of every known species. The memorial itself was a work of art, a massive crystalline structure that changed colors, sounds, and scents based on who approached it. It held the names of every being affected by the crisis, both positively and negatively. But more than that, it held lessons. Interactive displays showed the timeline of events leading to the human crisis. Visitors could experience simulations of diplomatic mistakes, see the consequences of disrespect, and learn better ways to handle conflicts. Jake Morrison, fully recovered from his ordeal, served as one of the memorial's education directors. The most common question we get, he told a group of young aliens during a tour, is why humans waited so long to show their true capabilities. One student, a small, tentacled being, raised an appendage. And what do you tell them? Jake smiled. I tell them that strength without restraint is not strength at all. It's just violence. We wanted to be strong enough to protect ourselves, but wise enough not to use that strength unless absolutely necessary. But you did use it, another student observed. Yes, Jake nodded. And that's the lesson. Power without respect from others becomes meaningless. Cooperation without the ability to defend yourself becomes dangerous. The key is balance. Dr. Beth Andrews, now serving as the Galactic Coordinator for Interspecies Cultural Exchange, often visited the memorial. During one ceremony, she spoke to a mixed audience of humans and aliens. We learned something important during this crisis, she said. Fear comes from not understanding. Disrespect comes from fear, and conflict comes from disrespect. If we can break that cycle by genuinely seeking to understand each other, we can prevent future crises. The Pathy Council leader, who had become a personal friend of Captain Elena Hayes, once asked her, "Do humans ever regret showing the galaxy your military power?" Elena considered the question carefully. We regret that it was necessary. We regret that it took a crisis to earn respect, but we don't regret protecting ourselves, and we certainly don't regret that it led to positive changes. Such as this conversation? Elena smiled. Two leaders discussing philosophy over tea instead of issuing threats over emergency channels. Such as the young beings in the memorial learning that diversity is strength, not weakness, such as a galaxy where every species has a voice. Donde crisis had lasted 90 days. The changes it brought would last for generations. Children who had never known a time when species were ranked by some arbitrary measure of superiority would grow up in a galaxy where cooperation was the norm, not the exception. 5 years after the crisis, the annual Day of Understanding was celebrated across known space. On this day, beings of all species paused to remember the lessons learned when humanity lost its composure. In classrooms throughout the galaxy, teachers showed historical footage. Students watched Jake Morrison's famous speech, Admiral Rodriguez's demonstrations of human military power, and the transformative negotiations that followed. What would you have done differently? Teachers asked their students. The answers varied by species and individual, but certain themes emerged. We should have listened from the beginning. We should have respected all species equally. We should have shared knowledge instead of hoarding it. Captain Elena Hayes, now Admiral and serving as Earth's primary representative to the Galactic Council, often reflected on the changes. Her office displayed a simple plaque with words that had become humanity's unofficial motto: strength in service, power in protection. During one memorable speech at the memorial, she summed up humanity's perspective on what had happened. We spent 30 years showing you our gentle nature. When you pushed us to show our fierce nature, you assumed that was all we were. But you had it backward. We are gentle by choice, fierce by necessity. The greatest misunderstanding of all was thinking these were different things. The old guard of the council, the species who had ruled for so long, found the transition difficult but ultimately beneficial. The Veldry, in particular, discovered that they were better at diplomacy than domination. Their skills in negotiation, when applied fairly, earned them genuine respect rather than fearful compliance. The first alien species to notice something was wrong were the Veldry. Their deep space scanners picked up unusual readings near their capital world. Commander Zixkral, nephew of the council leader, watched his screen with growing confusion. "What, are those signals?" he asked his crew. "Unknown, Commander." They appeared suddenly all at once. 12 contacts, but they're moving unlike anything we've seen before. Before Zixkral could respond, his communications console erupted with alerts. Similar reports were coming in from 11 other Veldry systems. 12 unknown ships had appeared simultaneously at each location. "Contact them," he ordered. "Demand identification." For several minutes, they tried every known frequency. No response came. Then, as suddenly as if someone had flipped a switch, every alien screen in the Veldry Empire displayed the same message. You had your chance. The message appeared in perfect Veldry script. No demands followed it. No threats. Just those 4 words. Captain Jane Boyd stood on the bridge of the USN Retribution, watching the Veldry fleet scramble into defensive positions. Her ship, invisible to their sensors until she chose to reveal it, hung perfectly still in space. "Lieutenant Miller, what's our status?" she asked. Dan Miller, her second in command, checked his console. "All systems green, Captain. The other 11 ships are also in position. We have complete tactical superiority." Jane nodded. For 30 years, Earth had shared its technology with the galaxy. They had given away their medical advances, their agricultural improvements, their entertainment. But they had never shared their military innovations. Today, the aliens would see why. Open a channel to all Veldry ships. Visual only. The main screen activated, showing hundreds of alien ships arranging themselves into battle formation. Their weapons were charging, their shields at maximum power. "This is Captain Jane Boyd of Earth Defense Force. You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons." The response came immediately. "Human ship, you are outnumbered 300 to 1. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." Jane looked at her crew. They were calm, professional, ready. Fire warning shots, full spectrum display. The weapons officer pressed a button. 12 beams of energy, each a different color, shot past the Veldry ships. Where they hit the empty space beyond, small stars exploded into life and then faded. The technology was decades beyond anything the aliens had seen. That was a demonstration, Jane announced. The next shots will not miss. You have 30 seconds. The Veldry commander's voice came back, no longer arrogant. What do you want? Your immediate withdrawal from all territories claimed by Earth. You have 15 seconds. Similar scenes played out across 12 different alien systems. At each location, a single human ship faced down hundreds of alien vessels. The messages were slightly different, but the meaning was clear. Humanity was no longer asking permission. In another part of space, Lieutenant Commander Dan Miller led a team of stealth infiltrators onto an alien military station. They moved like shadows, their advanced suits making them invisible to every sensor the station possessed. Team 2 status? Dan whispered into his comm. In position. All primary targets located. Team 3? Ready? Command center is secured without alerting anyone. Dan smiled grimly. For 3 decades, humans had worked on alien stations, served in alien militaries, learned alien systems. The hosts had thought they were creating grateful servants. Instead, they had trained the perfect infiltration force. Execute Phase 2. Full information retrieval. I want every secret in their databases. Within minutes, the aliens' most classified information was being copied by human technology they didn't even know existed. Military plans, diplomatic secrets, economic weaknesses, everything they had hidden from the galaxy was now in human hands. In deep space, Colonel Rick Turner commanded a different kind of operation. His mission wasn't to destroy, but to liberate. The coordinates his team approached held a secret that even most humans didn't know about. Contact established, sir, his communications officer reported. The colony responds with the expected codes. Rick allowed himself a rare smile. Open the channel. Full encryption. The screen showed faces he hadn't seen in 5 years. Human faces, eyes filled with hope and fear. Colonel Turner, the colony leader said, his voice shaking. Is it time? It's time, David. Pack everything. We're coming home. For 15 years, a small group of humans had lived deep in alien space, completely off the official records. They had volunteered to be forgotten, to serve as the ultimate contingency plan. Today, their sacrifice finally had purpose. Back aboard the USN Retribution, Jane Boyd waited exactly 60 seconds. When the time expired, the Veldry fleet was still powering weapons. Target their engines only, she ordered. Show them we could, have chosen to kill. What happened next amazed even the human crew. The Retribution's weapons fired 12 times, perfectly timed. Each shot struck a different enemy ship, disabling their engines without damaging life support or crew quarters. In less than 3 seconds, 12 ships were dead in space. The remaining Veldry fleet panicked. Some ships broke formation. Others opened fire wildly. None of their shots came close to hitting the human ship. Enough, Jane broadcast. You cannot hurt us. You cannot hide from us. You cannot run from us. Your sensors cannot even see us until we let them. End this now, or we will end it for you. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, one voice spoke for all the Veldry. Human ship, what are your terms? Full withdrawal from all Earth territories, immediate ceasefire, await further instructions. Agreed. Similar agreements were being made across the galaxy. The humans had planned perfectly. Every major alien, military installation faced the same overwhelming demonstration of human superiority. Not one civilian had been harmed. Not one alien life had been ended. But the message was unmistakably clear. On his prison station, Jake Morrison heard the guards shouting in their own language. He couldn't understand the words, but he recognized panic when he heard it. One guard finally came to his cell. What has your species done? The alien demanded. Jake stood up calmly. We stopped pretending to be weak, that's all. Your ships, your weapons. How? Did you really think we shared everything with you? Did you really believe we showed you our full capabilities? Jake walked to the energy barrier of his cell. We gave you our medicine, our food production, our entertainment. We never gave you our military technology, and we certainly never showed you what happens when you push us too far. The guard stepped back. For the first time, it looked at Jake Morrison with something like fear. "Open the cell," Jake said quietly. "I believe my transportation home is waiting." The alien hesitated, then pressed the release button. As the barrier faded, Jake walked out. He could hear the comm systems throughout the station broadcasting. The same thing in multiple languages. All human personnel are to be released immediately. Earth Defense Force vessels are inbound to every station. Jake smiled as he walked toward the docking bay. The galaxy had asked to see what humans looked like when they lost their composure. Now they were getting their answer, and they would never forget it.